Focused and fearless, here's everything you need to know this rush hour of August 22, Thursday. I'm Riza Diaz. Jumpstarting today's rush with the pending release of convicted rapist and murderer Antonio Sanchez, who is a former mayor of Calauan, Laguna. That's after the Supreme Court decided to allow the retroactive application of the 2013 Law on Good Conduct Time Allowance. This may be good news for Sanchez's family, but it has also reopened the old wounds of the victim's family. Ria Fernandez with the report.
This album serves as a memoir of the tragic passing of UP Los Baños student Alan Gomez. Aside from photographs, it also contains the letter of former President Fidel Ramos promising justice to the Gomez family. The vehicle last used by Alan remains parked in the Gomez residence. Gomez was murdered along with fellow UPLB student Aileen Sarmenta. Former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez was the mastermind behind the crime.
That was the place where students Aileen Sarmenta and Alan Gomez were abducted in the evening of June 28, 1993. It's just a few meters away from the UPLB campus. But armed men suddenly crashed inside the parked vehicle of Gomez and forcibly took the two to an ambulance.
According to the investigation, Sanchez had long been interested in Aileen. His henchmen presented a young lady as a gift to him. The victims were brought to a Calauan farm owned by Sanchez. The ex-mayor sexually abused Aileen while his aides mauled Alan. Alan's body was thrown in this grassy area in Barangay Imok. In a secluded place in Barangay Mabacan, Sanchez's men also took part in violating Aileen before killing her. Sanchez was sentenced to 7 life terms, but because of Supreme Court's recent ruling on good conduct time allowances, Sanchez may soon walk free after almost 3 decades in jail. The news was heartbreaking for Oliver, the brother of Alan. They have not yet received a single centavo from the 5.5 million peso indemnity of Sanchez.
Siyempre, we're moving on. Ganun pa rin buhay. It's just that we have been fearing for our lives since it started, and ganun pa rin hanggang ngayon.
The family of Sanchez is rejoicing with his impending release. They maintain that Sanchez is innocent.
Very happy. Thanks God kami. Sa wakas, wala na makatotoo na wala sa isip na namin yun.
For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Sanchez's former lawyers also speak up about his pending release. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo denied any hand in this, adding that he has long withdrawn himself from the case. Panelo was part of Sanchez's defense team back in 1993. But the mother of the rape slave victim, Aileen Sarmenta, is having none of it. Sarmenta says her camp has already written to the Board of Pardon and Parole to protest Sanchez's possible release.
He is saying that he withdrew, but then before he withdrew, he sought legal counsel. And it means to say that there is a tie between them. And then now, biglang na lang ganyan, sasabihin nila na entitled siya sa makalaya. My God, wake up, government. Our government is so frustrating. Our legal system is very frustrating.
Meanwhile, former Senator Rene Sagisag, who was also a lawyer of Sanchez in another case, insists that the former mayor is innocent. He says he also supports Congress in its efforts to reduce jail congestion.
Yung kwento sa akin ng mga taga Laguna, responsible people, kamukha no isang judge doon nagsabi sa akin, our mayor may be guilty of 1 million crimes, but not this one.
Now, aside from the victims' families, human rights groups and other concerned citizens are also protesting the pending release of Sanchez. The Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption said Republic Act 10592, as well as the Supreme Court's decision, are unacceptable and totally deplorable. Now, the group says the law has shortchanged the victims of justice they deserve. They also are calling for an amendment on the law wherein families of the victims should be notified of any pending release of a convict. Gabriela Party List strongly opposes the possible release of Sanchez. The group pointed out that while students, activists, and government critics are harassed with trumped-up charges, convict rapists, murderers like Sanchez are allowed to walk free. They are now also calling on the public to join the protest to prevent the release of former mayor, saying that the likes of him is a danger to women and to society. Meanwhile, more than 5,000 citizens have petitioned the DOJ through change.org to stop Sanchez's release and affirm his 7 life sentences. The petition says that for full justice to be served, the convict must remain incarcerated for the duration of his lifetime. Meanwhile, here are the biggest stories from the dailies. Filipino Star ngayon reports that aside from Sanchez, 13 Bilibid prison inmates who testified against Senator Laila de Lima are also likely to benefit from the new GCTA rules. However, Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara clarified that if any of the subject convicts do get early releases, it would be a reward for good conduct and not for any other reason. Recall that De Lima is facing 3 drug charges before the Muntinlupa RTC and over alleged involvement in the illegal drug trade at the Bilibid. Pangmasa reports that along with the boom in online casino operations in the country, there's also been a spike in kidnapped for ransom cases. Citing national police data, there's been 53 cases of kidnapping linked to gambling in the country since 2017, where over 100 Chinese nationals have been arrested as suspects. Police says this has been the work of Chinese loan shark syndicates. The Senate Ways and Means panel is looking to approve the measure, hiking excise tax on alcohol products in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Committee Chairman Pia Cayetano says approving the remaining tax reform bills has been difficult since the Senate is already set to start parallel hearings on 2020 national budget. Business World reports that the counterpart measure in the lower house has already been approved in the 3rd and final reading. Senate President Tito Sotto told reporters on Wednesday that the proposed SOGIE equality law has no chance of hurdling the upper chamber. Sotto counter-proposed passage of an anti-discrimination bill that includes other sectors of society and not just the LGBT community. The Senate President reiterated his earlier stance that the restrooms and the genders, for that matter, are based on biology. Now, in the 17th Congress, the lower house passed the SOGIE bill on the 3rd and final reading, but its counterpart measure languished in the Senate and did not even make it past the 2nd reading. Now, Sotto appears hell-bent to gatekeep the legislative bill to stop the SOGIE equality bill at any cost. President Duterte appears to have given up on in trying to help with the traffic situation in Metro Manila. He blames a certain lady politician for derailing plans to give his emergency powers. Jenny Dongon with a report.
Let EDSA rot there.
This was President Duterte's statement on Wednesday at the inauguration of the 7.5 megawatt solar power project in Romblon, seemingly fed up on the monstrous traffic problem in Metro Manila. President Duterte says there could have been a chance to solve it if the proposal to grant him emergency powers pushed through.
If it was to Gadi or so, but we need to borrow for EDSA because we need money to just even move one stall there. So, ang hinihingi nila emergency powers.
Amid all this, Duterte is blaming an unnamed lady politician for all the traffic woes in the Metro now.
But here comes a lady, atribida ang tawag ko dyan. I mean, it's good to be honest. It's good to be a crusading public official. No doubt about it. You will be appreciated. But kung sumubra ka, and you think that all elected officials in government are corrupt, oh well then. Sabi ko, kung ganun ang pag-isip ninyo, wag na.
Senator Grace Poe, who heads the Senate Committee on Public Services, which tackles traffic and transportation concerns, has been the subject of the president's ire after commenting that the request for emergency powers may just lead to corruption. Duterte previously said he needed emergency powers to fund projects that could ease traffic congestion in Metro Manila, particularly along EDSA. He later on said he is abandoning the plan after getting no concrete response from Congress. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
More from President Duterte, who's expected to raise the Hague ruling in his upcoming visit to China. Also in his speech last night, Duterte reiterated his statement of bringing up the arbitral ruling with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and in the process raised talks as well on the planned joint exploration in the West Philippine Sea. Duterte insisted that in whatever deal they may come up with, Philippines will not be on the losing end.
The proposal of 60-40 in our favor would be a good start. I hope that it would graduate into something like towards how do we solve the arbitral ruling peacefully. What is there, you have to share with us. Any other adventures or expeditions in the marine oceans of our exclusive zones, economic zones, will have a direct bearing on that arbitral ruling. Hindi ako papayag na tiwa yan.
Meanwhile, Duterte again insisted that corruption accusations against him won't stand. Apart from his usual fire-on-the-spot approach against alleged corrupt government officials, Duterte is now proposing some changes in the income tax scheme. He tells the Bureau of Internal Revenue to make it happen before the end of his term.
Gross tayo. Alam mo, ang gusto kong gawin bago ako mag-alis, baka matakot kayo. Sabihin ko lang, alis na ako. Alis talaga ako. Bigyan lang ninyo ako 5 araw. Do not with me for 1 week. I will change government. Before I leave, gross tayo. Tong examiners, ang nabubusog dyan ang examiners. Sila yung magko-question.
Let's fast break now to Sports Rush. Now, as the men of Gilas Pilipinas gear up for their FIBA World Cup campaign, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas gives the national team a fitting send-off. Paolo Del Rosario tells us more.
The 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup draws closer, and the Gilas Pilipinas men basketball team gets a send-off before they depart to China. The Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas holds a send-off ceremony to wish the Gilas Pilipinas men all the best ahead of their campaign in China. Present are SBP Chairman Emeritus Manny V. Pangilinan and SBP President Al Panlilio. Both are hopeful for a fruitful campaign in China.
It's an important, these are two important tune-up games for them because it's, in a way, is a prelude to their performance in, and sabi nga ni Yen kanina, medyo time challenge ang team because ngayon lang, I think last night na nag-practice yung tatlo, no? Fajardo, Troy, and si Pogoy. So, yeah, that's even shorter than the US team, di ba? So it's a little difficult, but no, Filipinos, we make do with whatever we're given, no?
It's very helpful. As you know, they went to Spain, but the lineup wasn't complete because the PBA there was an ongoing finals, no? Ngayon that they're already complete, of course we have some injuries. Marshall will not be there, but we're complete as a pool. Hopefully this next 10 days.
Also present are guest team, the Adelaide 36ers. The Australian team is in the country to help in the final preparations of the Philippines, and also to help repair the relationship between the two nations' basketball federation.
Basketball, and it's one thing that I miss about going in other places in the world. I wish the Australians were as passionate about basketball as you guys are.
We're also looking forward to engaging in the community. We've got some clinics happening at some local schools this week and look forward to experiencing your way of life.
I'm sure that will be great competition for you guys leading up to the World Cup too. I also wish you guys all the best. I'm sure you guys will do great. Work hard, play hard, and do your best.
The Gilas Pilipinas men basketball team will reveal their final 12 after the friendlies against their send-off guests, the Adelaide 36ers. The team will leave for China on August 29. Paolo Del Rosario, We Are One News.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again next time for another round of Rush. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.